Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Learning with Drones podcast. I am Heather Monthy. I'm an educator, technologist, pilot, and STEM education advocate. And in today's episode, I'm going to share with you three different things. I'm going to talk to you about a free drone programming curriculum. I'll talk to you about some new releases from DJI. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the coronavirus and how drones are being used in healthcare. But before we get into those topics, I want to share with you another podcast in the Education Podcast Network.
Hi, I'm Sam Fessich from the EduMagic Podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
All right, so welcome to the podcast. So let's get right into it. So what I wanted to do is share with you first that Tinker is offering their drone programming curriculum to pre-K through 12 teachers worldwide who have been affected by the coronavirus. So if you're in a school that has been affected by the coronavirus, Tinker is offering up their computer programming curriculum. So they have a lot of different types of coding curriculum available. They have introductory, intermediate, they have a lot of different things, but they also offer a drone programming curriculum. And I figured since you're listening to this podcast that you might be interested in that. So it's real easy for you to apply. You do need to apply to get access. What I did was I made a video that is on my YouTube channel, and my YouTube channel is just Heather Monthy, PhD, CFI. And I also put the link to the video in the show notes. So I just made a video showing you exactly where you need to go and what you need to do to apply to get access to this. So they're offering this to pre-K through 12 teachers and schools who have been affected by the coronavirus. And what they're doing is they are opening up their curriculum until May of 2020. But that they have also said that they will be flexible, that if your school's closed longer, that they can be more flexible with how long you have access to the coding curriculum. So I urge you to go check that out. I think it's a great offer, and I just wanted to share it with you guys here. So make sure you go check that out on my YouTube channel. All right. And the second thing I want to share with you in this podcast episode is that DJI, the largest maker of drones in the world, has launched the Robomaster EP, which is an educational robot. So it seems the world's largest drone maker is launching into the world of educational robots. So this robot does not fly. It appears to be it's a complete set of robotic services and educational materials for schools and for teachers. It can be used to help students learn about programming and artificial intelligence. DJI has also indicated that they intend to start holding robotics competitions for students aged 9 to 19. They did not state specifically what countries those robotics competitions were going to be held in, and they also didn't state what countries the Robomaster EP is going to be available in. So depending on where you are located in the world, you may or may not have access to it. I know I did try finding it online to purchase. I wasn't able to find it anywhere just yet. So you're going to want to keep an eye out for that. It also comes with more than 50 sensors that you can use to make it as a sorting robot, a carrier robot, an engineering robot, or even an infantry robot. And then the hardware includes some high-performance servos, robotic arms, grippers, infrared depth sensors, sensor transfers modules, and power transfer modules. I did find this information on a couple of different blogs that I do link to in the show notes. So if you want to read up on, what some other blogs are saying about the Robomaster EP, you can find that in the show notes as well. The robot also comes with a programming interface that allows the steering gear to be customized, and it also supports third-party sensors, so you can use things like a microbit, an Arduino, or a Raspberry Pi with it. And one thing I thought was really cool that was suggested in one of the blogs that I read was that you could actually set this up you could create like a miniature warehouse in your classroom, in your house, wherever it is that you're doing this. You set up a miniature warehouse, and then you can use it to test automation concepts. So what I think is really cool about that is I visited a couple of different companies where that's exactly what they're doing, is that they're trying to automate warehouses. And so this is a great way to learn that concept and learn that technology and sort of how workflow works within a warehouse. That's pretty cool. The Robomaster EP supports 2 different programming languages, Scratch 3.0 and Python 3.6. So it is March 16th, 2020 at the time I am recording this. So if you're listening to this well into the future, there may be additional programming languages or even additional different versions of Scratch and Python that are available on the Robomaster EP. And again, I really wasn't able to find anything that stated when and if this will make its way to the US. And if you're in other countries, Australia, the UK, Canada, I didn't find any information yet exactly about when it's going to be offered outside of China. So we're hoping that this will be a great educational robot that can be used to teach some of the same concepts that we use when programming drones, but just in a little different scenario for you. So I just wanted to share that resource with you, as you may be interested in that. All right. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about in today's podcast is the coronavirus, drones, and innovation. Like I said, it's March 16th. We don't really know what's going on here with the coronavirus. I am not a disease specialist. My PhD is in information technology. I really specialize in technology and education. And but what I'm very interested in is this concept of using drones as medical drones. And I think I just think it's interesting. So I set up a Google alert a couple of days ago, and just for coronavirus and drones, just because I wanted to see sort of how other people are talking about this and sort of this system of medical drones. And what I found was really quite interesting. I found that there's a lot of countries that are embarking on this technology. And I found several articles by I think he's a medical doctor, and his name is Robert Grabois. He is a senior research fellow at the Mercatus Center in George Mason University. And then another co-author is Darcy Nicole Bryan. And so I found a couple of articles that they wrote that really just kind of, I think, put this into sort of layman's terms in understanding the technology behind this, the air traffic management behind this, but then also the use for this in the medical scenarios. So what I found from these blog posts, and I have linked to all these blog posts in the show notes. So if you want to go read these, make sure you check out the show notes and just go to heathermonthie.com and search for the episode in the coronavirus and drones, and you'll find the show notes there. And but what I think was really cool is that I found all these articles really sharing about how things are being done in other countries outside the U.S. So, for example, in 2016, Rwanda established the first nationwide system of medical drones, and today, 2/3 of the blood deliveries outside of the capital are delivered by drones. So I thought that was really interesting. I had no idea that was being done. So the way that drones could be used, or medical drones is this term that I'm finding, and I probably am going to set up a Google alert for that term, medical alerts, to see, or medical drones, to see sort of what other people are saying about this. But some things that, it's things like when you're thinking about like Amazon Prime or whatever, delivering, whatever it is that you buy off of Amazon, it's sort of the same thing with medical drones, that you can get speedier deliveries through vast rural areas. And then, even in urban areas that have problems with traffic. And then think about like where you live and what kinds of things disrupt your transportation. So I'm originally from the Midwest, and like slushy, icy roads are just, absolutely terrible. So that, obviously, this is going to be weather permitting, but if the transportation route on the ground has been disrupted, then you can use medical drones then to essentially deliver blood and supplies and that sort of things in a much quicker manner. One thing that I did find in one of the blogs was that there are 10 U.S. cities that have been selected as test cities for unmanned aerial systems integration into the airspace. I won't list them all here. I list them in the show notes, but things like Durant, Oklahoma, San Diego, Herndon, Virginia, the Kansas Department of Transportation, etc. So there's a couple different areas that are actually starting to test some of this out. And then I also found, kind of going back to Rwanda, I also found that this company called Zipline, which is in California, what they're doing, it's flyzipline.com, and I linked to that in the show notes as well. But what they do is they carry medications, supplies, and other items. And what they do is they use fixed wing drones to deliver to clinics throughout the country. So if you're not familiar with that term fixed wing, think of fixed wing as like an airplane where the wings don't move. And then you have the rotor wings, which are like what a helicopter is, where the wing rotates. So they're using fixed wing drones to deliver medical supplies throughout the entire country. And then Ghana is another country. They have light air traffic. So they're able to use medical drones, and which are critical for supplying medical supplies in a timely manner. And it sounds like Tanzania started up the same thing in 2017, where they're intending to develop a nationwide system, a nationwide network for drones. And then in 2018, I found a company called Swoop Aero, and they began delivering vaccines to I'm going to demolish this. Vanuatu. If you're an Australian, you know how to pronounce that, please shoot me a message. Vanuatu, Vanuatu. So I looked it up on the Google Maps. It is a small nation in the Pacific east of Australia. And what they're doing is they're using drones to deliver vaccines to this country. And some other things that I found were sort of explaining how medical drones are used in other parts of the world, and then sort of what we need to do here in the U.S. So the authors of these blogs stated that that many people believe that in order for the U.S. to accept the use of drones, that what they need to do is they need to show how it can be used for public safety and aid. And that is really key to acceptance in the U.S. And I think that, we've got a lot of talk about, delivery and, getting your things quicker when you're buying stuff off of Amazon or wherever. But in this one blog that I read, which made complete sense, is that in order for us to accept it and accept that this is going to be sort of the new normal, that we really need to be showing how drones can be used for public safety and aid. A lot of us live far from hospitals. Road conditions can be bad. And so drones offer alternatives in these situations. So, we know that there are still some obstacles to adopting this in the U.S., including beyond visual line of sight and privacy concerns. But the U.S. could also be benefiting from this same technology that we can use to transport medical supplies to rural areas, and then through traffic jams. Gray Boys is in a different article that I found by him. He suggested that drones can also be used to transport ill patients without putting medical personnel at risk. So I thought that was interesting that, once we get to this point where we have this autonomous flight and actually transporting patients using this technology so that we're not putting medical personnel at risk. So in the U.S., we still do have some obstacles that some smaller countries don't have. We have much more frequent air traffic, and then there is a need for better unmanned traffic management. And so, those are a couple things that still need to be overcome here in the U.S. If you're not listening in the U.S. and you're in another country, I would love to hear sort of what your country is doing, or maybe even not doing, with using drones and unmanned traffic management in your airspace system. I'm very curious about this, and I'm trying to learn more about what kinds of things are being done in other countries, so that I can sort of be an advocate for it here in the U.S. and doing it in a proper way and safe way. And so this article by Gray Boys, he also brought up some other questions that we need to be asked if we're going to be using medical drones, especially in the U.S., is that we need to determine or ask this question: that should it be easier for doctors licensed in one state to be able to offer medical services in another? And so you think about this concept of, medical drones making it much more quicker and much easier to get, medical supplies, blood, etc., from point A to point B. And that could be essentially across state lines. So he just kind of throws out that, are we asking the right questions here? And we're still in the very early stages of drones and the various medical uses of this technology. And I did find one article. I'm not certain on the validity of it. I don't know how they estimated this, but they indicated that the medical drone industry could be a $27 billion industry by 2030. I will link to that in the show notes as well, so you can read that article and sort of make your own judgment there. I sometimes take those types of articles with a grain of salt, but and you got to look at sort of the motivation behind the article. But I really do think that this is something that is going to go somewhere. And I think that, with our, recent concerns around the coronavirus and the things that are happening in the world right now, that I think this is really going to stimulate some innovation in this area. And, China, for example, has been using drones to assist in delivering medical supplies, so that there's not any, so they essentially remove unnecessary human contact. And they've also been using drones with thermal cameras, and they were able to scan crowds to see who may need medical treatment. And they're also using drones to spray sanitizers over densely populated communities, which obviously creates some concerns around electronic surveillance and human rights. But these are different ways that this technology can be used in a case of a worldwide pandemic. Not saying that something is right or wrong, and those are questions that need to be asked. But that technology does exist. And it is being used. And I just think it's interesting to learn more about how other parts of the world are using this technology to help advance medical care. So if you have other resources that you have found, or other cases, I guess, that you have seen where drones are being used in medical care, I would love to learn more about it. I really think it's fascinating, and I think it's an area we don't talk about enough, especially in the U.S. So go ahead and just shoot me a message on either Facebook or Instagram at Dr. Monthi on all social platforms. And also, if you haven't already, I don't want you to forget to download your free study guide for the Part 107 exam. Again, that's for you if you're in the U.S. This is to help you get prepared to pass the Part 107 exam. I think things are going to be slowing down here a little bit with regards to testing and that sort of thing. Nothing's really been announced or anything yet, but a lot of places are working from home, working remotely, that kind of thing. So you might want to use the time to prepare for that exam and give yourself the leg up on your exam. So you can go to heathermonthi.com, and then it's /FAA Part 107 written exam, and you can download my free guide right there. And that's it for today's episode. Lots of great information, cool things I'm learning about. And so if you have things that you think I might think are interesting, I would love to see it. So shoot me a message, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.